Do you feel like the U.S. is doing all that it can to help get your son home?
So we have felt extremely supported and had tremendous access and transparency with what they can share with us from not just the administration, but all of Congress. We've met more than 50 senators at this point. We've met with the president, many governors, and we've met just a tremendous amount of people in the American government who have made it very clear this is a bipartisan issue. There are 8 American families who have hostages still being held. Tragically, 3 are now confirmed no longer alive. Is everyone doing all they can do? I like to think so. I pray that that's the case. I hope that that's the case. I say constantly, hope is mandatory. Hope in this situation is absolutely mandatory. I pray that everything that can be done is being done.
Well, you've been at the UN, you've also met with the Pope. Do you feel like they understand, that they get the situation?
I appreciated when we were talking to Pope Francis and I showed him the video of Hersh being kidnapped. He said, what you have experienced is terrorism, and terrorism is the absence of humanity. So to me, it was very wise and very empowering and very comforting to hear that. When I spoke at the UN, I tried to just tell the story of all of us, all of humanity. We are all suffering right now. I'm very cognizant, and I have always been very careful to talk also about the thousands and thousands of innocent Gazan civilians who are suffering. But I think that the world doesn't completely understand the situation of what's going on. The world doesn't understand who the hostages are that are being held currently. The original 252 hostages represented 39 different countries. They were Christian, Jews, Muslim, Buddhist, and Hindu. They ranged in age from 9 months to 87 years old. I'm convinced that if they had been taken on October 7th, those 252 people, and were being held in Dallas, Texas, that the world would have shown up the next day and they would have figured out how to get them out. But we're in a neighborhood, in a region that is very complicated and very complex. And I don't think people want to take the time to understand the nuance of how complex and how complicated and how painful this neck of the woods is. So it's much easier to just take one side, black or white, and run with it. And I understand.
So you mentioned hope, how crucial it is. What gives you hope?
I really believe that God is in charge here, and that gives me tremendous hope that this will end in a way that we will have outrageous amounts of work to do. You know, in our family, obviously, we have a lot of help that we will need to get for Hersh on many levels, on the physical level, on the soul and mental health and emotional and psychological levels, but also in this whole region. We really need real solutions here. This has been complicated for many years. I mean, the irony is that many of the people who were taken from the kibbutz communities on the border were real proponents of coexistence and peace.
How do you pray for Hersh, and how would you like others to pray?
Well, I pray throughout the day. Jewish people, there are some people who pray 3 times a day. I do it twice a day, the ritualized prayer, and then throughout the day I'm saying psalms for Hersh in his merit and in the merit of the other hostages being released, praying that all of our leaders can do the right thing, even though that will require tremendous tenacity and courage, because it might not be in their interest to do what it takes to do the right thing. And I would pray that our hostages come home safe and sound. You know, there's still 19 girls being held, young women being held. They're presumed to be pregnant from the abuse that they have suffered. We need these people out now. I think things would move much faster if people actually really did the work that it took and had the courage to do the right thing.